Hi everyone, you're very welcome to today's Out in the World Educators Training session. If you have any problem hearing us or seeing the PowerPoint, please do let us know in the chat. Or if you have any questions throughout the session, you can also use the chat to ask us. Or if you want to put up their hand, we can unmute you and you can ask us any questions you may have. So I'm just going to start by introducing the education team here at EPIC, the Irish Immigration Museum, and the Jeannie Johnson famine story. So my name is Finola. I am the Education Sales Executive. And also on today's session, we will have Shannon Wilson, who is our Education Outreach Manager. My job is primarily to organise any tour groups you may have coming to visit us, any workshops, or any student visits to the museum, or also virtually. And Shannon is in charge of all our content creation. So Shannon will go through all about our new education program today, Out in the World, which is being done in conjunction with our new temporary exhibition, which is currently on display in EPIC and will remain on display up until the 1st of December. Before we go through Out in the World, I just want to give you a brief introduction to EPIC for anyone who doesn't know us or hasn't been to visit us. So EPIC is the Irish Immigration Museum. So this looks at the stories of those Irish who have left over the last number of years. We focus primarily on many different areas of immigration. So areas such as the famine, recessions, those leaving for religious reasons, to educate abroad. So there's a number of reasons why people would leave Ireland. The museum also focuses on their achievements once they kind of move to their new homes, and also looks at the influence that the Irish would have had on the rest of the world through immigration. The museum itself is located in the CHQ building in Dublin's Docklands, and it is open 7 days a week from 10 until 5 each day. Under current government restrictions, we are still open every day and are still able to take tour groups and school groups. There's no problem with that. We do just have to separate them into smaller groups, as you can imagine, but from September, we will be able to take all school groups back into the museum as well. Before we again move on to Out in the World, I just want to give a brief introduction to the current education program that is on offer here at EPIC. So we have 3 different education programs available. We have our Tiny Tots, which is suitable for junior infants up until 1st class. We then have our EPIC Explorers, which is suitable for 2nd class to 6th class. And then we have our EPIC Innovators, which is suitable for secondary level students. All of our workshops, our tours, they are available both in person and virtually. And we have a range of different workshops on different themes and different special events, workshops that we do as well, which I'll be talking to you about in a minute. If anyone requires any further information on the workshops that we do and the different choices we have, they're all available on our website, which the link is just below. I'll pop that into the chat in a couple of minutes, just in case you want to have a look at it. And also you can email us as well if you'd like any information on either visiting EPIC or one of our virtual workshops. We also at EPIC do a number of special event workshops. So this is a new program that we launched in 2020. And these are specialized workshops that a number of schools can join. So we have these on set days throughout the academic year. And it gives the opportunity for you and your class to join, but to also join with other classes around the country to experience what EPIC has to offer. So we do special event workshops for weeks such as Maths Week, Science Week, Engineers Week, also International Women's Day, Tech Week, and then we also do special ones that are seasonal, such as Halloween and Christmas. We offer a range of these for both the Tiny Tots, the EPIC Explorers, and EPIC Innovators. So there are different ones for the different age groups as well. These are all available on our website once they go live of when our next workshops will be. So we will start to see these workshops coming back into play in late September into October and November. These will also always be sent out to you on our education e-zine that we send out once a month. So we'll always have updates on the new workshops that we'll be doing for you. I'm now going to hand you over to Shannon, who's going to discuss the Out in the World education program that we are launching in September.
So just to give you a little bit of context of Out in the World, if you don't know anything about it, it's an exhibition that focuses on the Irish LGBTQ+ diaspora. And intermingled into this story is the story of oppression in Ireland, the history of different laws and the state of the Irish society that may have caused people to emigrate and leave Ireland at different points. And it goes through, it has 6 different themes and covers 12 stories. And a lot of these are quite contemporary stories of people. The curator, Maurice Casey, actually spoke to a lot of these people. We do have a little video to show you here that shows you some of the stories that we include in the exhibition.
We had a theatre group called Brixton Fairies. And Brixton Fairies was a way of us expressing our lives through theatre. All those people were able to develop as individuals and as a community.
It was 2015, we got this small grant from Tourism Ireland to create this float. You know, we were led by a group of original Sydney Queer Irish, and then we had these, 8 lesbian leprechauns who were running all over the place. Panty Bliss was put on top of a rainbow, and, we had U2's song Pride in the Name of Love blaring. It was incredible.
The Bowman Society every year held a ball. It was like freedom when we would go over there, because we could be ourselves, we could dress for an entire weekend as women and be women for the weekend, and that was just incredible.
In 1990, I came to San Francisco just for the summer as a field placement, working with homeless people living with AIDS. And that week, I also went to Mass at Most Holy Redeemer Parish in the Castro, the gay neighborhood. And I found myself crying from the moment I walked in. I think I was in shorts and t-shirt. I wasn't ordained a deacon at the time, but I found myself crying because I realized this is the place where I can be myself, and I can integrate and heal and be empowered here.
So as that video shows, the transition from Ireland was rarely a very simple transition from an oppressive society to a more liberal world. It came with its own struggles for a lot of these people who emigrated, and this exhibition attempts to tell those stories and how these people paved a way in different countries around the world for the LGBTQ plus diaspora. And it was launched in June 2021, and as Finola said, it's going to be up in the museum until the 1st of December. And let's have a look now at the themes, just to give you a little bit more context. So these are the 6 themes that are featured in the exhibition. These are a great teaching tool because it enables you to explore different topics that minority communities, migrant communities, and the LGBTQ plus diaspora would have had experiences in. And each of the stories, there's 2 stories per topic. That is a very, very good way of exploring human rights issues in the classroom. So just to give you a little bit of context on these, we've got exclusion. So this is the sort of refusal to include those who are part of the LGBTQ plus community. And this could be through laws, legislation, such as the Criminalisation of Homosexuality Act in 1861 in Ireland. But it was also done through enforcing societal norms on those who tried to express themselves as well, such as men wearing trousers, women wearing dresses, the inability of 2 women or 2 men to marry. And then we have community, and this looks at the Irish LGBTQ plus community that might have been excluded around the world, as well as something like the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York, and having a look at how people had to form their own communities in order to create a sense of home, belonging, acceptance, and safety. And it's something that comes up time and time and again in our museum to do with immigration and how the Irish found each other in their new home countries. And then love as well is a very important one. So this covers, of course, couples and how love came into play in these people's lives, and then how the LGBTQ plus community refused to let hatred spoil their love as they continued to form loving communities and relationships. And we have defiance, and this again is looking at legislations that people had to overcome that may have tried to limit their activities, choices, and freedoms, and the people who would have defied these, who would have fought to change them through protesting and other forms of protests. And solidarity as well, being excluded from a community and forced to create your own, brings with it a sense of solidarity as people share their experiences and provide help to others that they never received. So you're looking at allyship there as well, people from outside the community who may have helped. And then return finally, and this is a very important one to put focus on, because some of these people would have come back to Ireland as Ireland's become a lot more liberal now, as we've seen with the decriminalisation of homosexuality in 1993. We see people returning to Ireland and exploring that story and why people might choose to move to Ireland. Now we see a lot of new Irish communities from places such as Brazil, where people would have felt that they have more opportunities in Ireland to be part of that LGBTQ plus community now. So the resource pack is something that's going to be available in a few weeks for you to do teaching with. And I know that in a lot of secondary schools, you have a Pride Week in November. So this is something that could be very useful for you. We don't have images of it yet, so I've put up a few images there from previous packs to give you an idea of the sort of activities you are going to find in this pack. And the contents of the pack will include, it's going to be a little bit about the exhibition and about EPIC, but also it's speaking directly to teachers. The idea is behind it, it's going to be very clear of how you're going to use these materials in the classroom. So you'll outline the curriculum links, it will outline the learning outcomes as well. And then there'll be a list of classroom activities, such as discuss and debate prompts, things such as immigration, but also words like gay, bisexual, pansexual, and discussing all of these with your class. And something like there's an activity called a motivation for migration poster making activity. And in this activity, what your class will do is look at the reasons people might be prompted to emigrate or immigrate to particular countries, and then create a poster advertising that country and focusing on either the positive or the negative push and pull factors of that country. And a lot of the activities in this pack are focused around getting your students to think and put themselves in the shoes of a minority community. So it's not just focused on LGBTQ+, but a more broader sense of human rights exploration in the classroom. Another activity is My Story, Your Story, Our Story, which starts off with the students' personal stories of students are in a very particular place where they have a natural affinity for empathy with minority communities because of their age. They are restricted within their society. They have particular laws on them that may be societal laws about what age they can do certain things, but also in their home life. Different homes will have different rules for students. And it's starting off this discussion by putting them and allowing them to explore the restrictions that are upon them, and then juxtaposing this with minority communities and how they feel with restrictions on them, how they feel to be treated differently in society. And then looking back at the local community and how students and the wider community can work to create a more welcoming, cohesive society. We also feature a number of biographies on people who are in EPIC itself in the permanent exhibition. So therefore this pack will be useful to you if your classes are coming into EPIC and you want to pick out particular characters, but also figures who are featured in the Out in the World exhibition as well. And there's a list of some of the ones that we're featuring on there. We are trying to feature quite a broad range of different figures on there. Some people your class might be familiar with, such as Oscar Wilde. Other people will be completely new. And also focusing on two very pivotal events in the LGBTQ plus history, which is Stonewall riots in America and the Home to Vote campaign here in Ireland, which is a very recent campaign. Some students might even remember it, but also because it's that focus on social media and getting students to think about what they could do nowadays in terms of activism, in terms of allyship, and how they can support and encourage global citizenship as well. There's also longer form projects in this pack for your class to complete, which you can do with just your class or school wide as well. And this is something that is a big focus with that global citizenship now in teaching in secondary schools, is getting school-wide projects and community projects that involve your students and embed them in their local communities. And one of these is continuing on the Out in the World exhibition, because it is mostly contemporary stories of people that our curator has interviewed and featured. Your students will be invited to do the same thing in their local communities. So we have a bit in there about how to set up an oral history collecting day with your local community, and on how to turn that information into an exhibition that you can run at school, or even just in your classroom if it is just a class project that you're doing. And we also have a list of useful vocabulary, because this is very important when speaking about any of these issues to know. I know that a lot of people can be nervous if they're using the right terms. So we have a list of useful vocabulary in there. We have worked with shout out on this pack. They will be checking everything, so you can have full confidence that anything in this pack will be the correct terms that you can use when discussing these issues in the classroom. And then we also have a list of resources that will help you in order to be able to teach. So we are going to be including PowerPoints as part of this, so that you can use the prompts in your classroom quite easily and hopefully be very useful to you. Then we have our program, which includes workshops. So the very first one is our flagship Out in the World workshop. So this is a platform for students to explore human rights issues, and it uses the themes of Out in the World to do this. So those themes that I just ran through a minute ago: exclusion, community, love, defiance, solidarity, and return. And students will take part in practical exercises to put them in the shoes of characters from Epic and the Out in the World exhibition. And the idea is it will build on their empathy, problem solving, teamwork, community, and social and world citizen skills. So for an example, let me take the theme of exclusion. So students will be introduced to the story of Bridget Cull and Chris Morrissey, two nuns who met in the 1960s when both women belonged to a Franciscan order of nuns in the US. And they spent a number of years in Chile, where they were involved in protests against the Chilean dictator at the time. And the couple then returned to Canada. And they fought there on Canadian soil for the constitutional challenge, because they wanted to change Canadian immigration law to make it more inclusive for LGBTQ plus couples. So they learn about that, and then they learn about the St. Patrick's Day battle as well, which was the inclusion for Irish LGBTQ plus float in the St. Patrick's Day parade in New York. And what they will do is then they'll do an activity alongside that. So they'll do trivia questions, they'll do a lot of discussion around those issues and those stories that they heard, but then they'll do a practical activity that will really work to put them in the shoes of feeling excluded. And they'll be given a language-based exercise for this, where certain students will only be able to communicate using certain words, and other students will have to avoid using those words altogether. And they'll be given scenarios that they have to act out and try to communicate across to one another. And then we're going to discuss and explore how this makes them feel. Did it make them feel frustrated if the other person didn't understand them? Did it make them feel frustrated that they couldn't use certain words? So to try and get them into the shoes of arriving in a new country and only being able to speak maybe partial English, etc. And then we have the You in the World workshop. And this is a really practical art-based workshop, and students explore what it might mean to be part of a migrant or a minority community through these activities. So we're really looking at issues that crop up time and time and again for these communities, such as self-expression, censorship, identity, representation, communication, and exclusion. And by the end of the workshop, the students will come away with quite a few different pieces of artwork that they can use to showcase a mini exhibition of what it means to be them in the world. So for example, students will explore identity through creating a puzzle. depicting themselves, so the different aspects of themselves. So they draw a picture and they'll break it off into different pieces, and each piece will be labeled with the different parts of their identity to explore how we aren't just one thing. So you can see in the image here, who am I? It's so many different elements that go towards making a person, and often we can be stereotyped by just one of these things. As students will also explore issues of communication and censorship through being given words which they have to cross out and rearrange to make a sort of art poem collage in order to bring this message across of how we communicate is very, very important, the words that we use, and if we can only use certain words, again, how this affects us. So another aspect to this program that we have are the Curator's Talks, and this will be something we'll be offering where Morris will be speaking for about 30 minutes about the exhibition, but it won't just be as part of our secondary school program. Our big focus is on skills building. So it won't just be about the exhibition itself, but it'll be more framed from how he put the exhibition together, what were the challenges that he faced, particularly exploring such an issue, and everything that he had to do, particularly during COVID as well, because he put this exhibition together during a time where it wasn't possible to visit a lot of people. So talking about that aspect of it as well. And we'll also have a Q&A where students can ask him about anything that they want to know about the exhibition or about the process behind it as well. And finally, the last aspect to our Out in the World program is our teacher training session. And this is a more in-depth session that works through the resource pack that I just briefly went through there. And it's basically giving you even more ideas of how you might be able to use different things in the classroom, having discussions around LGBTQ+, migrant, minority histories, and any concerns or different things that you might have to do with how you might teach this in the classroom. I just offer you a little bit extra support in terms of those longer form projects as well. So we will go through all of that in these teacher training sessions that we'll be offering. These ones will be free, and we'll be offering one a month until the exhibition finishes up in December. So that is our program that we have. And something to mention really just before we finish up is that I know there's a lot of primary school teachers that are interested in the program as well. It is geared towards secondary. It has been created with secondary in mind. The art workshop, we would recommend primary as well. The rest of it can be adapted. It'd be more so coming to us and speaking to us about what you're teaching, what exactly you need in terms of that. But definitely the human rights workshop would be more geared towards a secondary school audience.
Thank you, Shannon. So just to finish up, before we finish up, if anyone has any questions about the program, you're welcome to pop them into the chat. We can answer them there. Or if you kind of prefer to email us after, my email is on the screen right now. You're very welcome to email us, ask us any questions about the program. The program will launch in September, so it will be available to schools. It can be done as one full program where you do both workshops, also have the teacher training, the curator's talk, and the resource packs. You can do a full program with us, or you can individually pick workshops and different aspects of the program and do them individually, such as just visiting the exhibition. The exhibition will be part of any visit to EPIC up until December 1st when it finishes with us. But you can also do the workshops. Under current guidelines, we will be doing all the workshops virtually for the foreseeable future. That is just due to COVID guidelines that we need to stick with, but you will still be able to visit EPIC. So you can combine a visit to EPIC with a virtual workshop if that's what you would like to do and you would like to use both aspects of the program. I don't think we have any questions. So so thank you so much for joining our session today. As I say, if you do have any questions or want to know any more about it, please do get in contact with us. We will be putting the full program is currently on our website, but we will be listing some of our special events in the coming weeks. So please do keep an eye on it. And thank you again for joining us today. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.